I'm gonna say I'm not doing getting food.
Hey, I wanted to keep it. At least one guy would just share. Not just one. Tell me.
We need to go find some. Oh, man, trees.
You're spitting it.
Wait, is yours good?
Huh?
Is it good?
It's probably gonna be like the Stokers.
So,
Yeah, or.
Okay, welcome to lecture 28. Thus concludes your nutrition experience. So we got review session today at 5. Does everybody still want that?
yes.
Okay. Where would you like it to be?
Right at the other. Yeah, then we don't.
Do you think that's gonna interfere with the party or not?
No.
We'll start there and see if that works. If not, we'll go somewhere else. Move over to the break room. So, any thoughts of when you want the exam, third exam? In session. Got one vote for Mondays. Anybody want it before that? Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday? What?
Monday's good.
Evening, morning? Okay, well, I'll see if I gotta double check my schedule. I'll send out a link for that and we'll have probably some space in Marshall Hall for those that want to show up in person. So we'll do some odds and ends here about feeding cows. Lab practical part 2 is tomorrow. The items that I'm gonna ask you to do are up on Blackboard. You also have your week 13 assignment due. Then, so don't forget that, and there should be practice rations and extra credit rations up on Blackboard. So the practice ones should have answer keys that get you in the ballpark. Finals week, Wednesday, the 7th. I'll probably show up here 10:30. Come and go as you need to. Is that a conflict for anybody that we're aware of, or does anybody have any trouble getting to that exam? So I'll try to get coverage up there, but we're basically going right after or right near macro minerals to the end of the thing there. I don't know if everybody knows this, but I have, because I've been working with our TA and she can't make this class, I've been recording the classes. They are mostly up on YouTube. I'm gonna try to get the rest of them up today. So if you missed a class, there's an opportunity to check that out. So I'll make sure those buckets are put out this afternoon. So you two gentlemen are responsible for tomorrow. You should be sometime, if Scott's doing that, probably the samples will be available at like 6 in the morning. So anytime after that. So we're talking about my definition again. Define the animal or animals, define the feeds, define the interaction. So playing with the feeds and being on a farm, what do we need to think about? What do we need to worry about? What makes sense to analyze and what doesn't? So we take our nutrient groups outside of water. We got carbohydrate, protein, fat, minerals, and vitamins. What do we worry about as dairy producers? Well, it depends on what we're trying to do. One of the things we need to consider is how easy is it to make this measurement? Carbohydrates is a full range of very simple, like an NDF, to very, very complicated, trying to measure the different sugars. Pectin is a notoriously difficult assay. Protein, for what we're worried about, crude protein, is pretty easy. Fat, crude fat, pretty easy. Specific fatty acids, very complicated. So you've got a range there. Minerals are very standardized. Pretty much every lab in the country does minerals the same way. So you can ship your samples to a variety of labs and get the same answer. Vitamins, extremely complicated to get those answers out of our feedstuffs. Do we do them routinely? Carbohydrates, yes. Proteins, yes. Fats, probably. Depends on if we pay that little extra to get that fat profile. Minerals, yes and no. Certainly the macro minerals, the first 5, calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, sodium, and potassium, those are done routinely all the time. Sulfur is an extra charge because they have to basically digest the feed down to get the sulfur out of the feed stuff, out of the proteins, and then chloride requires a special machine to measure that. So some are done routinely, others you have to pay extra for. They can all be done pretty routinely. Just got to get your standards right and figure out what wavelength you're working on with the machine, and they'll pop right out. Vitamins, no, we don't measure those routinely. There's just no point in it. It's a whole lot easier just to supplement, and that's what the current thinking is in the dairy industry, the Research Council. This is enough to get things done. We don't have time or the expense to get that analyzed. So do we guesstimate? With our first 3 there, there's no point in it. You can get them done routinely. You can get them done, or at least some certain components, fairly easily. There's no point in guesstimating, and guesstimating is going to put you into some trouble. So we don't do that. Minerals, sometimes we guesstimate, given that we've got this feed versus that feed. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. We certainly, if we're getting down into micro minerals, we're probably going to guesstimate on those. Maybe not on the macro minerals, but the micros. And certainly with the vitamins, at least till recently, the suggestion was, yes, guesstimate what there is. They reported concentrations, estimates of vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin A in feedstuffs. They've eliminated those and say just zero them out, and we'll give you a value of supplementation that gets the job done. So again, going back to where the problems are on a farm, it's usually a problem with carbohydrate, protein, and fat, the interaction with those. Trying to get those balanced right can be difficult depending on the year. Sometimes we've got a good balance or a good mix with our haylage and our corn silages. Other years, it's like, well, this isn't going to work. We'll get it roughly right and limp through till next crop year. So take our chances. Anybody have any interest in pasture? Well, for those of you coming up around here the second year, you'll get a copy of this in your dairy references folder. We have the author, works out of Norwich for USDA. Nice, dense book. Gets right to the point. It's kind of a Bible for that. So if you're interested, I can get you that PDF sooner than next year. If you have a continued interest in nutrition, there is an optional class, not required. Advanced nutrition, you can pick that up in the spring. It's Thursday afternoons as a rule. We get more in depth into each of the feed components, and we spend a lot more time talking about feeding, which, as some of our advisory board pointed out, you don't need to spend time balancing rations. You need to talk about the feeding things. So I spent a lot of time thinking about that. What the things I wish I knew when I went home to work for my dad, I had to figure out on my own. So you can benefit from my mistakes. So right now you should be good enough to talk to a nutritionist and understand what's going on, but you know just enough to be dangerous. So make sure if you're gonna, well, we're gonna make this ration adjustment, make sure you have somebody with more experience check you. So I was told the same thing when I finished this class. I was like, what are you talking about? And then as time goes by, I realized, yeah, he was right. I knew just enough to be very dangerous. We won't get to some other subjects. If you have an interest, there's a number of NRC publications at the library you can check out and go into more depth. I don't know if they have the 2022 one, 2021 December. I don't know what the copyright is on there for dairy, but I do have it in my office if you're interested in taking a look at it. So that's more or less all I have. Thought you might like some of your assignments back, and then we can talk about what we might need to review or discuss moving forward. So has everybody seen the dairy DANS 100 grade estimator up on Blackboard? So now you have numbers here you should be able to put in, and you can play with what is the highest grade I can get if I ace everything that's still yet to come versus what's the lowest grade I have. A lot of you are at the point right now where you're not going to fail this class even if you don't do anything for the rest of the semester. So so if we go to Blackboard, anybody wants to join in, they can. So if you go to the start here syllabus area, there's a DANS 100 grade estimator that you can download. You can. So if you take that list I gave you in my grade book, this is sort of where you're sitting at. So I think that more or less matches. You got a grade for the first exam, a grade for the second exam. We'll talk about that second exam in a minute. The third exam is yet to be determined. Got a grade for your feed ID exam, your lab practical, 10% of your grade is yet to be determined. Your quizzes, I have your grade average out of 10, but I haven't dropped any. I will drop at least a third of the quizzes. The number you have on that sheet doesn't include any drops. So most of you are going to go up probably 2-3 points when you drop those lowest ones and drop the zeros and all that. Assignments, we've got about 20 right now. We'll probably have 2 or 3 more before all is said and done. You've got the assignment coming in today. So that's where you are. How many assignments I have in the grade book relative to 20. And then participation, we've got about 40 class meetings so far. How many of those have you attended? So that's where we're getting with that. So if you look at this thing here, we can start out with so we know we don't have an exam 3 yet. We know we don't have the second half of the lab practical yet. A fairly typical number in the class has been 7 for that average for the quizzes. Assignments, most people have done there. You can do whatever division you have there for assignments. Divide the top number by the bottom number, and that'll give you the number to put in here. The percentage out of 100%, what assignments you've turned in. Participation, if you've showed up to class, been present, you can put the full 8 in there. So say on the first exam, a typical grade might have been a 75. We've got a little bit lower on the second one, and we'll talk about that. So I think 75 is a fairly typical there. So you've got 20% of your grade, 30% of your grade still to go. With those numbers right now, you're guaranteed a D. So everything you do between now and the end is just going to up your grade from that D. So everybody see how that works. So let's say I continue to do typical work on the third exam. Same with lab practical. I've got a solid C. If I knuckle down, I get all my assignments in. Get my quizzes dropped. Ace the lab practical. And the last exam, B plus, within range. So even with a 50 on one of the exams, an A almost, or B almost an A is still within range, depending on what you want to do. So I didn't write down your missing assignments, but if you want to talk to me, we can go through, figure out ones you're missing. We could project out where your quizzes are going to end up. Any questions about the stuff I've handed back? Want to take a couple minutes to look at what's there? Questions or concerns? I'll fix math errors for free. If you have a grade that you don't agree with what's on there, give me a cover sheet that says, I'd like you to look at page 6, third question. I reserve the right to regrade the whole exam for those. So does everybody know where to find their score on their tests? They're on the back. Last page, flip them over to the back. Apologize on some of the grading. It appears that my answer key was screwed up, so I went back and changed some things that I initially crossed out. For some of you, when you realize that everything I'm doing is wrong, I'm marking everything wrong, that probably means I screwed up, which I did. Is something like this grade estimator of help to you? So if you show up, you do your work in my classes, you do not fail. So people that don't show up and don't do the work that usually run into trouble. For the feed ID, the first column counts double of the other columns. So IDing the right feed counted double. You got 2 points for that. And 1 point for the other 3 columns, I guess you had to answer. So. Questions, comments, concerns?
Missing a lot of the assignments. You said look at Blackboard.
For the assignments, I have the grade book in a spreadsheet, so you're not gonna see a grade book. I don't know how to do a grade book on Blackboard. So if you want to know which assignments you're missing, come talk to me and we can get that sorted out. So also you have to be looking at 200 versus 100. Those of you in that class, all the assignments for 200 are posted up on Blackboard. So.
Wait, where did you get that?
Starting and syllabus, it's
Yeah.
about halfway down. So you can download that out and play with it, so you can figure out, okay, if I ace everything, this is my upside. You can also say, okay, I've got a downside that's not gonna, the world goes to hell, I'm still gonna get a C in the class. Other questions or concerns? Yes.
The ASFAB. That.
I'll, will give you a particular feed, a ton of it, and it's water content, and then the percentage of the dry matter for the starch, NDF, protein, fat, and minerals. And you have to tell me how many pounds of water, starch, NDF, fat, and minerals are. Yeah. So I think everything is based off a ton. So if I give you a ton of hay, corn silage, how much water is in their pile? How much NDF, how much starch, protein, minerals, and fat? You don't worry about vitamins because it's like a little pinch. Other questions or concerns? So I generally on each page, I total up. And that's the total for each page is underneath the diagonal line in the bottom corner. If you've got a math error there, bring it to my attention. I can fix that for free. Numbers at the bottom of the feed ID are the number of correct ones in that section. At least I hope.
Jonas is going to get 125 minutes in this one. Oh, yes.
Well, you got a week.
Yeah.
Get to it.
So 8% is
The proportion of that, you divide out whatever you had by 40, and that's the percentage you put in that blank. What percent of 8 goes in that blank? So. So exam number 2, how many people were pleased with what they saw there? You were very happy with yours?
Oh, with number 2?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking at one range.
Oh, okay.
I'm happy.
Take a look at 2 and tell me if you're pleased with the grade you got. Any questions or concerns? Mm-hmm.
That just means that's right, or is it?
Yeah, I messed up. I had the wrong answer key. I don't know where I got it from. So if it says okay, your numbers are correct. It's hard to erase the big X's. So I apologize. So making up work, turning it in. I have to turn in grades on December 13th. How long do you want to have an opportunity to turn in work that you haven't turned in so far? Does anybody want to turn in work they haven't done yet?
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so
It's like the max allowable extension.
I probably need it somewhere Monday afternoon, which is what, the 12th? Is anybody gonna use that time all the way up? Okay, how do you want to get stuff to me? Okay. I'll be floating around for a while, so worst comes to worst, slide it under my door or drop it off in the front office, and they'll put it in my mailbox if you don't feel comfortable. So shall we say after lunch on the 12th to get all the work in that you need to? So was that 2 o'clock? If I do a real long lunch? Or in my case, I usually get a late lunch, but if I get it at all. Okay, for this class, you gotta get stuff in. Do you want me to put up drop boxes? Or you're gonna make sure that stuff gets delivered hard copy? Delivered hard copy. I don't want to get it lost in my email. That's a black hole. I'll never find it. So I can go through, and if you remind me, I can go through and check anything from you, sort by name and stuff like that. I've done that in the past. Make sure I've got everything. Exam 2. Little lower than I expected. So I don't know if that's my fault or your fault. There certainly were some misinterpretations in my mind of what the question was, and maybe that's the way I worded it. I think there was a dry matter intake question there, and people were writing the formula for, or maybe that's the other class. People were writing the formula for dry matter percent, not dry matter intake. So I don't know if I was not clear on things like that. Would you like an opportunity to improve your second exam grades?
Yeah.
Okay. If I post this exam, I don't really care about grades. I care about you learning stuff. And from my perspective, it doesn't look like a lot of stuff was learned for exam 2. So you had the opportunity to go back. I post the exam up on Blackboard. You have the opportunity to go back and redo the exam, looking up the answers, learning from your mistakes. And I can give you half the difference, half credit for all the stuff above of what you had. So if we got a 50, you can go up to a 75 if you get everything correct. So you'll turn in, download that. Do you want me to print out copies of the exam, or do you want to print them out yourself? Would you want a Word file for the exam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll provide a Word file up on Blackboard. Please try to make the pages the same when you start shortening things up or lengthening things out. I get different pages and it's hard for me to compare it to my key. So. So making up missed work, an opportunity to learn some more related to exam 2. I can post it this afternoon. When would you like to turn that in by? Same date? For late at work, people are going to the 12th, I believe it is, Monday the 12th, 2 o'clock. Same opportunity. Hard copy. So it'll be up to you to print it out, deliver it either to my office, to me. Where am I? Wednesday, we have class here. And then I have a dentist appointment in the afternoon. Thursday, I think I'm in Marshall Hall. We're working on the New York Holstein Jeopardy questions for the morning. So I should be, I think we're in Marshall Hall. I don't think we'll be up at the dairy. But if I'm not there, I'll leave a note on my door where to find me, or you can drop it off in the front office. Friday, we have the seniors are going out to their farm to make the presentation on their robot barn recommendations. So they're going to meet with the family that morning. I'll probably be back in the afternoon. I think there's something I'm supposed to do related to some school. There's a school meeting, I think, on the 12th somewhere, but I have to have the grades in by 9 o'clock. What I'll probably do is I'll probably establish the grade that you have, and then I can go back and make adjustments if you turn in it late assignments. How many people will think they will take advantage of the late assignment thing? About 5 or 6 of you. How many people will work on the regrade of the test? Pretty much everybody. Okay. Just so I know what I'm looking for. So I come to Monday and if I don't have something from everybody, I probably need to start looking a little harder. It would make my life easier. But if you're not here, we can put up a Dropbox. I'm assuming most of you are not going to be in Morrisville on 12th. So
I'll be getting my wisdom.
I know your pain. So hopefully you don't have to go through what I went through. So
I can like both of the bottom ones are feel like I can literally like I can feel them. And the top ones are like.
at least they're soft impacted. So mine were going through underneath. He almost broke, he almost had to break my jaw to get it out. And I was in shock when they finally got me out of anesthesia. I was under too long, but he had to get it done. So, but I did get, I just couldn't eat for 2 days. So, I hope you learned something you can use this semester. That's all I have. I'll try to get all that stuff posted up on Blackboard as reminders. If anybody wants to see their missing assignments, we can work on that now, or I can work on it with you tomorrow before or after the lab practical.
See you later, Mr. William.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Suppose I should stop recording.